Good evening, everyone. So in the last class, we were discussing about the role of civil services in a democracy. So we started with the history of civil services in India, that is evolution, how exactly it evolved, then the present status, then role of civil services in governance, civil servants in governance. So this is important part. So we discussed about policy formulation, policy implementation, basis of government and administration, administrative adjudication, management of resources, providing continuity, crisis management, etc. Then we also discussed the difference between bureaucracy, democracy, how bureaucracy and democracy are in conflict with each other and how they can be complementary with each other. And finally, we also discussed what is civil services neutrality. Any doubts still here? Fine, let's talk about the next topic. So we discussed about the role of civil servants in governance. Okay, that was in general what exactly is the role of civil servants and how exactly the institution of civil servant was envisaged. Okay, overall kaise envisage hua tha. So that was the overall general idea. And this role after the independence, up to some point of time, it was continuing in that same manner as it was envisaged. मतलब कैसे आइडिया था, so उसी कंटेक्स्ट में उसको इम्प्लीमेंट भी हुआ था. But over a period of time, after some years, like after 20 years of independence, gradually the nature of civil services started to change. We can say it started to evolve. Okay, it evolved into something more. It is not just the role is limited to governance and administration as a part of the government. They are acting as an agent of the government and are representing the government, and they are trying to implement whatever the government schemes are there. That is one part, of course. Other than that, the role of civil servants and the nature of civil services has evolved over a period of time. Particularly the time period, that is the liberalization, the LPG bolte hai na, 1991. So after that, it has evolved to a very great extent. The nature of civil services has changed little bit more, and it has gone beyond just the execution of the policies and programs. It has gone beyond that. So we'll talk about that. The role of civil services in post-liberalization era. Role of civil services in post-liberalization era. So basically, how exactly it changed? Let me just give you brief introduction. कैसे change हुआ था after independence? Independence के time में तो I told you, many of the nationalist leaders, they were in favor of abolishing this entire system of particularly civil services, the major civil services which we call it as the IAS, the Indian Administrative Service. That is, उसके पहले था ICS, right? तो उसको abolish करने के लिए there were strong arguments, and later it was Sardar Patel who supported the continuation, and majority of them felt चलो ठीक है रखते हैं, but let's try to make it as, let's try to give it an Indian nature. Okay, that is how they made it as Indian Administrative Service, IAS बोल के उसको change किया. And at that point of time, Sardar Patel, he called it as the steel frame. Okay, IAS, he called it as the steel frame, particularly considering their role in the development of the country. Fine. And ये जो IAS है, Indian Administrative Service, they are the major civil servants जो हम बोलते हैं who are involved in the administration. Of course, IPS is also there, IRS is also there, and हमारा IFS is also there, Foreign Service and as well as Forest Service. And all of they are contributing in their own field, in their own area. IAS is little bit more diverse, we can say. Initially, the overall idea of All India Services was given to ensure a stronger control over the states. Okay, initially it was given to ensure stronger control over the states. Okay, for example, ये जो हमारा IAS है, they were selected by the central government, they were appointed by the central government into the service, but they work in the state government at the district level in the administration of that particular state. They are not looking into the central government subject. Okay, they are not looking into the central government subject. They are looking into the subject of the state government. They are working on the subject of the state governments. So that means they are working for the state governments, but they are appointed by the central government. The idea came initially because they wanted to ensure there should be more integration, there should be more unity, and there should be more stronger control over the states from the center. क्योंकि हर districts में एक बंदा बैठा है कि जो central government officer है, who is working for the state. Of course, they would listen to the state, the government missionary, everything, but final authority है central government. The state government cannot remove them, right? So उनका roles and responsibility थोड़ा बहुत change है. We'll talk about that in detail. But initially it was considered to act as a connecting link and a strong controlling link over the states. But after 1967, the nature changed a little bit. 1967 में क्या हुआ था? What happened in 1967? So there were this assembly elections of 1967. So till that point of time, it was the Congress party which was ruling both the center as well as the state. Most of the states, majority of the states, it was the Congress party. Fine. So it was easy to bring that strong control over this all India services. So administrative service है, police service है, it was very easy to control them because जो central government है, उसी का ही state government में भी the party is same both at the central government as well as the state government, and जो भी there would not be much of differences. But after 1967, when the regional party started to come into power, okay, when the assembly elections gave way to other more regional parties जैसे CPI हो गया है ना, और साउथ में तो और थोड़ा सा तमिलनाडु में, आंध्रा में बहुत सारे ऐसे रीजनल पार्टीज आने लगा था. At that point of time, the state government started to exercise more control over these all India services. Okay, the state government started to exercise more control over them by using what? They cannot remove them by using transfer and posting as a controlling mechanism. Okay, transfer and posting को लेके, because it lies with the the state government. So wherever the state government wants, whenever it decides that it can transfer any officer. ऐसे कुछ लिमिटेशन नहीं है कि मिनिमम नंबर इतना साल रखना है, इतना महीने रखना है, ऐसे कुछ देयर इज नो लिमिटेशन एट ऑल. सो दे स्टार्ट टू यूज दिस पावर एंड it is entirely different government at the state and the center. So if there is any issue, if there is any tussle between them, so they will try to show it on these officer, है ना. So one who is towards the central government, उनको तो ज़्यादा अच्छा वाला posting नहीं मिलेगा, अच्छा वाला लोकेशन नहीं मिलेगा. So ये सारी चीजें होने लगा. So then these all India service officers started to align more towards the state governments only. They started to align more towards the regional parties, right? So that is how even we can say the beginning of the erosion of civil services neutrality. Okay, that is also the beginning of erosion of civil services neutrality. It is expected that the civil servants work neutrally without any kind of party bias. But once these state governments started to use the tool of transfers and postings, transfer is important location, जैसे important capital के पास में हो गया, है ना, या बहुत अच्छा खासा city में हो गया, या कोई दूर का जहाँ पर कुछ भी नहीं है, there is no resources, there is no water, electricity, ऐसे भी वहाँ पर भी डाल सकते हो. That is transfer. Posting, like important position within the government, जो powerful positions है वहाँ पर भी डाल सकते हो. So using that they started to control these civil servants. So वो gradually वो जो central control था, that started to decrease, and the control of state government started to increase. Another important event which we can say which has led to the evolution of civil services in India was the introduction of reservation. Okay, earlier there was not much of reservation for other backward classes, SC, STs के लिए था. So but other backward classes there it was not much reservation was there. But after the implementation of Mandal Commission's recommendation, even the diverse community started to appear for civil services examination. Then even they started to represent their communities overall. Okay, trying to make some change in the development in terms of the social development and all. That is basically trying to bring more diversity in the composition of civil servants. So that is one event which we can say it's a landmark event. And other major event is liberalization. Liberalization, we'll talk about this. And other than liberalization, we also have the introduction of 73rd, 74th Amendment Act. Okay, introduction of 73rd, 74th Amendment Act. How exactly it changed? We'll discuss all of these. तो इसका पीछे वाला बैकग्राउंड ठीक है, जस्ट ऐसे ही रफली याद रखो. देयर इज नो नीड टू राइट डाउन एनीथिंग. यू जस्ट वांट टू राइट ब्रीफली. यू कैन टॉक अबाउट ओवरऑल इन द एवोल्यूशन ऑफ सिविल सर्विसेज. टू मेजर इवेंट्स इज, वन इज द आफ्टर the regional party started to gain power, they started to control more. That is first point. Second point was the reservation, which brought diversity in the representation of different communities in bureaucracy. Okay, that is also another major factor. But the most important factor is 1991 liberalization era. Why? Why 1991 liberalization, that is post-liberalization era, that period of liberalization, LPG reforms are considered to be very important in the context of civil services? Can somebody tell me? So anyone? End of license Raj. Yes. Their role is reduced. Yes. And then एनीथिंग एल्स? रिडक्शन इन गवर्नमेंट अप्रूवल्स, ठीक है, थोड़ा सा सोचो, डाइवर्सिफाई करने का सोचो, और क्या चेंज हो सकता है बिकॉज ऑफ 1991 लिबरलाइजेशन? चलो ठीक है. सी फर्स्ट मेजर change which we can say between the period of 1991, before 1991 and after 1991. Okay, it's the end of license permit Raj. End of license permit Raj. है ना? That's totally correct. End of license permit Raj. So earlier, before the 1991 liberalization, it was majorly, there was a strong control of the government over the economy. है ना? Particularly ये जो हमारा PSUs था, many of the PSUs, many of the manufacturing units, many of the subjects in the economy, they were reserved for the state. That means only for the government. No private was allowed. That was first thing. Okay, that is where the public sector units who are functioning in a large scale manner and who are handling all of these, ये जो हमारा civil servants at different levels. So they were having total control over there. Second one, wherever there were private participation also, there were private participation also, but there was strict control. That was exercised through the mechanism of license permit, है ना? There was a strong control. कौन कहाँ पर कौन सा इंडस्ट्री खोलना है, कौन सा फैक्ट्री बनाना है. So everything would be decided by the government through this mechanism of license. है ना? 1991 totally abolished this. First thing, it made open most of the areas to private. तो public का limited हो गया कि only in few of the subjects the public sector was totally given the monopoly. Otherwise, the private was made to enter in most of the areas. That is what we call it as the privatization. Other than privatization, there is also the role of public servants and the role of state in private sector was also reduced. That is through liberalization. That is through liberalization. So overall, the control of the civil servants reduced. I would say, if you ask me whether which period was the most powerful, जो हमारा IAS officer से सबसे ज़्यादा power कब था, I would say it was before 1991. And they were feared by the common man, they were feared by the market, they were feared by politicians. To some extent, because they were occupying the power centers. At one point of time, you can take the example of Indira Gandhi government. PMO, the body, the Prime Minister office, that was one of the most strongest, and that was controlled by the topmost bureaucrats. They used to guide everything, the development policies, the programs, जो भी decision हुआ था, it was happening in PMO, not by consulting the cabinet, not by consulting the council of minister. No, the PMO was the most powerful body, and of course they are dominated by हमारा bureaucrats, right? So in that way, their role was very powerful. Before 1991 कोई IAS है तो पता चलता है. So you would have heard about that, right? But after 1991, this license permit Raj was ended. तो उनका role, that is the controlling the economy, controlling the different players in the economy, was totally reduced. That is first important change. Then other than that, the role of civil servants were changed from controller, regulator to facilitator. Now you are not expected to control the market. Now you are not expected to stop the market from doing better. Okay, earlier even we had this MRTP, Monopolies Restriction Trade Practices Act. So there were limitations beyond which you can grow. वो सब तो हटा दिया. There is no control over there. Now you have to facilitate the growth. Now you have to facilitate the private participation. You have to call them, you have to encourage them, you have to incentivize them to do business. So that is another major change in the role of civil servants. Most of the areas, okay, in most of the areas, this mentality was changed after the 1991 liberalization. And even you should work toward more ease of doing business. You should work more towards bringing ease of doing business, right? That is liberalizing the entire market, making the constraint as less as possible. Then comes our 73rd and 74th Amendment Act, which gives more role to the local bodies. है ना, पंचायत and municipalities, उनका representatives, they were given more power, more responsibilities. So gradually the responsibility and the power of the civil servant at the district level started to decrease. Because earlier the entire responsibility was with this group of civil servants and bureaucrats who are running the district. Now that is divided and decentralized, and some of the power went to these authorities at the local level, both in urban areas as well as rural areas. Then you can also talk about the role of civil society. Even before 1991 era, there were lesser participation of civil society. Civil society in terms of NGOs, self-help groups. And these NGOs and self-help groups, they have grown exponentially after the liberalization era. How? By the influence of foreign players, by the foreign funding. पहले इतना ज़्यादा restriction था, तो funding तो छोड़ो. There was even the setting up of NGOs, self-help groups were not encouraged to that great extent. Now they are even seen as the part of the administration. They are seen as they're friends of the administration. They will help us in implementing the administration. Of course, there is some issues with NGOs in the context of foreign funding and in the context of environmentalism. ये सारा है, बात करेंगे इसके बारे में. But overall, the outlook towards the civil society has changed, and the relationship between the administrator, the governor, the bureaucrats, and the civil society has also changed. Now we are seeing them as partners in development. Okay, brief points dictate कर देता हूँ. पहले आइडिया समझो. Is that clear? So overall, the way of functioning, the roles and responsibility have evolved after independence. Now, in the 21st century, in the era of digitalization, in the era of cooperative federalism, we are moving towards much more evolved roles and responsibility. इसलिए आया है हमारा मिशन कर्मयोगी. Right? So we'll talk about that in the end. So please write briefly about this. The role of civil services in post-liberalization era in India. The LPG reforms, the LPG is liberalization, privatization, globalization. The LPG reforms after 1991 after 1991 ended the license permit Raj, ended the license permit Raj and ushered in the era of deregulation and economic liberalization. Deregulation and economic liberalization. In this context, okay, liberalization के बाद full stop. In this context, the civil servants should act as facilitator coordinator and catalyzer of change. Facilitator, coordinator and catalyzer of change in order to facilitate the progressive integration with global economy, Next point. यहाँ पर कहाँ पर like where will you put the points? Like you can put the demarcation at in order to लिख के point wise लिखते जाओ. So that is elaborating the role of civil servants. In order to के बाद में first point, facilitate the progressive integration of global economy. Next point, ensure a well-functioning market and allow a more efficient private sector private sector. Next point, to provide opportunities for new business, Next, to reduce the hurdles in the market and provide for ease of doing business. Next one. To facilitate the decentralization of power, to facilitate the decentralization of power, through local self-governments, self-governments, as per 73rd, 74th Amendment Act, as per 73rd and 74th Amendment Acts, next one. To support and accommodate the civil society, and make them the partners in development, and make them the partners in development. So that is the role of civil services in post-liberalization era. Any doubts here? Next topic is All India Services. All India Services. As per the Article 312, as per the Article 312, a new All India service can be created by passing a resolution in Rajya Sabha supported by a not less than 2/3 of the members present and voting. Supported by not less than 2/3 of the members present and voting, which we called as the special majority. So if Rajya Sabha passes such a resolution, a new All India service can be created. So this is our All India service. So we have 3 All India services currently: AS, PS, FS. Okay, forest service, police service, administrative service. So बहुत लोगों को पता है कि administrative service and police service, बहुत लोगों को ये पता नहीं है forest service. So I would say one of the most wonderful service and wonderful experience, particularly in the coming days, this service is going to gain much more importance and much more power than what they are having right now, because now is the time for any kind of moderation, any kind of changes which we should be doing in our developmental model to reduce the pollution, degradation, wildlife protection, which all have started and are going to happen at a higher rate in the coming days due to the impact of global warming and climate change. In that context, हमारा forest service officers, they are going to play a huge role ठीक है, बहुत लोगों को ये पता नहीं, यूपीएससी का एग्जामिनेशन जो प्रीलिम्स होते हैं इट इज फॉर बोथ सिविल सर्विसेज एंड फॉरेस्ट सर्विसेज. सिविल सर्विसेज में देर आर ए सेपरेट लिस्ट ऑफ सर्विसेज इंक्लूडिंग एडमिनिस्ट्रेटिव सर्विस, पुलिस सर्विस, रेवेन्यू सर्विस, ऑडिट एंड अकाउंट, ऐसे बहुत सारा सर्विसेज है. फॉरेस्ट सर्विस एग्जामिनेशन जब चलता है एक ही पोस्ट के लिए, इंडियन फॉरेस्ट सर्विस. ठीक है, फाउंडेशन कोर्स साथ में होता है सबका. आफ्टर दैट द फॉरेस्ट सर्विस ऑफिसर्स गो टू देहरादून टू गेट ट्रेन्ड ओवर देयर इन IGNFA, Indira Gandhi National Forest Academy. Whereas our administrative service officers, they remain in Labasna. हमारा पुलिस सर्विस ऑफिसर्स दे गो टू हैदराबाद, है ना. सो फाउंडेशन कोर्स में सब साथ में रहते हैं, बाद में डिवाइड हो जाता है. बट ओवरऑल दे आर ऑल इंडिया सर्विस ऑफिसर्स. व्हाट इज ऑल इंडिया सर्विस ऑफिसर्स? Unlike the central service officers who are appointed by the central government and who work for the central government, all India service officers are appointed by the central government, selected by UPSC, appointed by the central government, and during the process of appointment they are given a specific cadre and they are expected to serve in those cadre. जो भी cadre दिया है पूरा उनका सर्विस पीरियड वहीं पे होना चाहिए. And during that period they are going to serve the state government. Okay, they are going to serve the state government. They will help the state government. The administrative officers are going to help the state government in administration. Police officers, IPS officers are going to help the state in maintaining law and order. And forest service officers are going to help in maintenance of management of forest resource. So forest comes under concurrent list. So basically दोनों के लिए काम करते हैं. But majorly since forest resource management is also it also involves the administration of forest resource, right? So state government, state forest department के अंदर directly आता है. So I have already told you that they cannot be removed by the state governments, but they use the tool of transfer and posting to control these officers. Initially इनको वहां पर इसलिए रखा था कि there is a necessity of a strong control. ये सारा सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट ऑफिसर है, so they will not listen to the state government. ये सोच के रखा था वहां पर ये तो पूरा उल्टा हो गया. The state governments have found a way to control them, right? And there is an act called as All India Services Act of 1951. All India Services Act of 1951, which the Parliament has passed in order to regulate the functioning of All India Services. As per this act, the both central government as well as the state government make the rules for the functioning of All India Service. Both central government as well as state government make rules for controlling the working of All India Services. Okay, it is not just the central government, both central as well as state government make the rules. Okay, in consultation with each other, they make the rules for regulation of All India Services. What was the need of All India Services? Why did we bring this All India Services? ब्रिटिश टाइम पीरियड में तो था, उसको हमने क्यों कंटिन्यू किया है? Because if at all you have been reading polity का initial chapters में आते हैं, what are the salient features of India's federalism? बोलते हैं कि India is having its own type of federalism. right? Or quasi-federalism. So where there are mixture of both unitary as well as the federal characteristics. And one of the most important characteristics of unitary में discuss करते हुए, you might have seen that presence of All India services is unitary in characteristics. Why? Because these are the officers appointed by the central government and work for the state government, through which the central government can exercise the control over the state governments. Okay, the central government completely controls the entire cadre. So why was it required? Because India had just come out of the partition and India wanted to avoid another partition, any kind of disintegration, it wanted to avoid. So in order to maintain the unity and integrity of the country, in order to maintain the unity and integrity, unity and solidarity of the country, they said, Chalo, let's have a strong All India services through which we can control the state governments very easily, so that they do not become too secessionist, matlab to go away from the center. Most important reason behind having All India service is to maintain unity and solidarity of the Indian Union. Then to understand the ground reality, the central government, they sit in New Delhi, and they want to control the entire country, they want to run the entire country without having the ground knowledge. To understand the ground knowledge, the ground reality, they can use these officers, right? At the same time, it is not totally union, it is quasi-federal in nature. There is a necessity of coordination between both center and state, and All India services are the best suited officers to bring that coordination, because they are working for the state and they are appointed by the central government. They bring that coordination between the center and state, which is very much required to ensure federalism in India. And most importantly, in many of the cases, they are outsiders. Okay, in most of the cases, they are outsiders. Outside, so even if you are a person from that particular state and you have got that state cadre also, but you are an officer of central government working in the state government. You are responsible to central government. So, you are expected to function without any kind of bias. You are expected to function without any kind of bias, without any kind of fear of local parties, local politicians. है ना? Because आप तो इनका ऑफिसर नहीं है, सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट का ऑफिसर है, वहां पर काम कर रहे हैं. So you don't have to fear them. अरे मुझे काम से निकाल देंगे, मेरा पोजीशन डिस्टर्ब हो जाएगा. They cannot do that. है ना? So technically they cannot do that, but they have found a way to do that. I told you about that. To function without any kind of bias and fear. To function neutrally. We wanted them. And to advise ministers independently. If you are not a local person, if you are not a person who is working for the state government, you are an outsider, you are seen as an outsider even if you are from the same particular state. right? In that case, whatever the advice you give to the ministers, so that should be neutral. In majority of the cases, at least it should be neutral. It should be independent. It should be without any kind of bias, without any kind of political motivation. So with all these things in mind, they continued the All India services. Is that clear? So इसलिए हमारा IAS, IPS, IFS, the All India Service Officers. So please write about this, All India Services. All India services are rendered at national level All India services are rendered at national level with officers for these services being hired by central government full stop. However, they work for state government with state government controlling their transfer and postings. फिर इसके बारे में भी एक स्टेटमेंट ऐड कर दो. द ऑल इंडिया सर्विसेज एक्ट ऑफ 1951 The All India Services Act of 1951 empowers the union government in consultation with state governments to make rules for regulation of All India services. In this first point, okay, here we are going to discuss about the need for All India services. Okay, need mein first point, to promote the unity and solidarity of country. To promote unity and solidarity of the country. Next, to stay in touch with ground realities. To stay in touch with ground realities for central government. Third, facilitate cooperation between center and states. Facilitate cooperation between center and state. Next, to give independent advice to state ministers. To give independent advice to state ministers. Next, to reduce the regional influences. To reduce the regional influences in administration matters. In administration matters. साहिती का एक डाउट है, who has more power among the three? Okay. So it depends upon the area of work. Area of the work which you like. आपको लॉ एंड ऑर्डर पसंद है तो डेफिनेटली पुलिस, आपको फॉरेस्ट एरिया तो फॉरेस्ट कंजर्वेशन प्रिजर्वेशन पसंद है तो फॉरेस्ट. इन जनरल द एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन, ओवरऑल फंक्शनिंग ऑफ द डिस्ट्रिक्ट, ओवरऑल मैनेजमेंट पसंद है तो एडमिनिस्ट्रेटिव सर्विस. इट शुड बी ए पर्सनल चॉइस, बट in this more responsibility lies with IAS because their work area is not limited. I would not say power, I would say responsibility. More responsibility lies with IAS because their area of working is not just limited to simple implementation of schemes and programs. nahi hai. Everything under the district comes under IAS, whether it is law and order, whether it is resource management, forest resource management, सब कुछ overall overview IAS के नीचे ही आता है. So at the same time, with greater power comes greater responsibility, right? So it's not just power alone. Any other doubts? So we discussed about the need for AIS, All India Services. Now let's talk about issues with All India Services. All India Services के साथ there are certain major issues. Fifth point is to advise the ministers independently. See, जो भी मिनिस्टर के साथ में काम करने वाले होता है ना, ब्यूरोक्रेट्स, in secretariat. So most of the major ministries they will be provided with secretariat support, where most of the civil servants work in that secretariat. Okay, at different levels of course, and most of them are from the state government. Most of them are from that particular state government only. Okay, state employees होते हैं जो PSCs के थ्रू सेलेक्ट होते हैं द स्टेट पब्लिक सर्विस कमीशन के थ्रू सिलेक्शन होता था. And being from the same state and same region, so they might not give a unbiased advice to the ministers. एक तो along the hierarchy they are in very low. Second है कि उन्हीं का ही रीजन है, उन्हीं का ही काम है, उन्हीं का ही सब्जेक्ट है. So they might not give a unbiased advice because इनका जो कंट्रोल है उनके साथ में है, उनके हाथ में है. उनको कुछ बुरा लग सकता है. They might feel bad. Because it's not only about doing something good, even those things which you have to control to prevent some things which results in bad, you need to give an unbiased advice. So if you are from an outsider, bahar se ho, who is not from that particular region, you can give an unbiased advice. bahar se dekhna thoda sa easy रहता है ना, at the same time. So you don't have to worry much. So let's talk about issues with All India services. First major issue which we need to highlight is their relevance. After nearly more than 70 years of independence, at that point of time, to maintain the unity and integrity of the nation, sovereignty of the nation, All India services were required. Abhi to zaruri nahi hai. We have sustained as a nation for more than 70 years, yes. We have come out of national emergency, we have faced 3 major wars, but still we have sustained as a democracy. So abhi bhi, if at all, even after 70 years of independence, if at all we are feeling that there is a need of more unity and sovereignty, integrity, so in that case, कुछ तो problem है. अभी तो doubt नहीं होना चाहिए, at least. तब तो immediately it was after the partition. So is it really relevant? That is the question raised by many. Do we really need this kind of system? Okay, please write. The relevance of All India services after 70 years of independence. After 70 years of independence, and the necessity of promoting unity and integrity. See, it should not be taken in the other way. I am not saying we should not promote unity and integrity. ऐसे मत लो. ऐसे तो जरूरी है, ऐसे तो relevant है ही. But वो अपने आप by default वो तो नहीं आएगा. Don't you think that we have grown stronger as a nation together over this last 70 years? उसके लिए एक अलग सा सर्विस का तो जरूरी नहीं है ना. That was the point. Another major issue is now the trend is federalism. है ना? We want more federalism, more decentralization. We don't want unitary form of government. All India service is unitary in nature. We are moving towards cooperative federalism, competitive federalism. We want more distribution of power, not the concentration of power. Okay, second one, all India services are against federalism. Another major issue is law and order. Law and order comes under the state subject, but they are controlled by most of the officers. Most of the officers who are in charge of this law and order in that particular state is IPS. जो भी टॉप पोजीशन में बैठा है सब लोग IPS ही है, एंड IPS तो हमारा सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट का ऑफिसर्स है ना. The issue of law and order should be dealt, please write, the issue of law and order should be dealt at the local level by the state government itself. Full stop. However, most of the key positions, in state police are held by members of IPS. Such kind of all India services are said to create an authority responsibility gap. All India services, please write, all India services may create authority responsibility gap, because the all India service officers, they work for the state government, but they are held accountable by the central government. The state government has very less ways of controlling them. They are left only with transfers and posting. उसको उनका पॉलिटिकल इसके लिए यूज करना शुरू कर दिया है. सो अदर देन दैट द डिसिप्लिनरी एक्शंस, एंड दे आल्सो हैव गॉट द कॉन्स्टिट्यूशनल प्रोविजन, कॉन्स्टिट्यूशनली प्रोटेक्टेड. इसलिए देयर इज ए गैप, द अथॉरिटी रेस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी गैप in the way all India services function. The authority responsibility gap, as AIS officers, all India service officers, are under the disciplinary control of center. And not the union, sorry, not the state. मोस्ट इंपॉर्टेंट इश्यू है कैडर एलोकेशन पॉलिसी, कैडर एलोकेशन पॉलिसी ऑफ ऑल इंडिया सर्विसेज. तो इसके बारे में हम सेपरेटली बात करेंगे. कैडर एलोकेशन पॉलिसी ऑफ ऑल इंडिया सर्विसेज. सो बिफोर दैट लेट्स टेक ए शॉर्ट ब्रेक, 10 minutes of break, and we'll come back. Shantanu has a doubt. What is the meaning of to reduce the regional influence in administrative matters. See, many of the times the administrative decisions are taken considering the political benefits in that particular region. Politically motivated decisions भी हो सकता है. है ना? So, and in many of the times administration should be done neutrally. The regionally powerful people, the local leaders, the ministers and the MLAs, MPs, they might try to influence you in your work. है ना? तो रोड कॉन्ट्रैक्ट चल रहा है, बोलता है हमारा बंदा है, इसको कॉन्ट्रैक्ट दिलवा दो. So all that matters, the regional influences in administration, not in a positive sense, in a negative sense. Positive sense में अलग हो सकता है, because administration should be done considering the regional aspirations, regional local needs को consider करके करना है, that is positive. Negative में like there would be interference, that is what is regional influence I am talking about here. And that, to avoid that, it is better that you bring someone who is not easily, he cannot get influenced. He is not from this region. He is not from this particular local, he is not from among the local people. तो इसको influence करना थोड़ा बहुत मुश्किल है, क्योंकि उसको तो निकालना भी मुश्किल है, सर्विस से तो निकाल नहीं सकते हो, है ना? So one who is away from that particular region, so he might not be susceptible to the local influence. अगर लोकल वाला है तो बहुत सारा ऑब्लिगेशन बन जाता है ना, तो हमारा जगह, हमारा कम्युनिटी, हमारे पीपल, ऐसे इन दैट सेंस. See, law and order is one issue where the local people would have better knowledge how to manage the law and order at the local situation, local level में, है ना? Too much of centralization is not going to work in law and order. You need decentralization of power. Power should be given to the local officers so that they can manage in a better manner. Local, जो भी जहाँ पर local issues है, in terms of crimes हो गया, या in terms of any kind of theft, criminal activities, है ना, or communal issues. So all of that requires a local solutions. So that is the positive sense of local, जो regional influence है, तो वहाँ पर जो बात हो रहा था. So law and order is one such issue जहाँ पर local officers are required to take control, not the central officers trying to control the every law and order situation, every position. That is one of the suggestions, one of the issues which are highlighted over a period of time. Let's talk about cadre based civil services. Cadre based civil services. What do you mean by cadre based civil services? What do you mean, what is the meaning of cadre? तो आप लोगों ने सुना होगा, तो ये, if any of the persons who have cleared UPSC, some of them will be allocated some cadre. अंशुल, आपका जो डाउट है ट्रांसफर पोस्टिंग पॉलिसी, विल डिस्कस अबाउट दैट इन रीफॉर्म्स. ओके, रीफॉर्म्स क्या क्या चाहिए, कैसे होना चाहिए, ये सारे बात करेंगे, है ना. अभी एक लास्ट मेजर टॉपिक है, देन विल कम टू द सिविल सर्विसेज रीफॉर्म्स. ठीक है, कार्डर के बारे में बताइए. व्हाट यू मीन बाय कार्डर? Sweta is seeing the area where they will be working or the field, workplace. So what else? Place and type of service. Okay. Yes, UP cadre, Bihar cadre. What do you mean by cadre? Cadre का मतलब क्या है? Yes. So we have right answer by Sai Praneeth. So basically cadre का मतलब है group of trained people, है ना, group of trained people. So usually they use the term cadre in a general sense when it comes to the military, the soldiers. है ना, so who work as one particular unit, एक यूनिट के अंदर जैसे काम करते हैं ना, so that is what is cadre. That unit of trained people who work together is called as cadre. It is not a state, it is not a region, it is not a workplace. Fine. Cadre is that unit, that group, that team, okay, the group of people. So if at all I am saying UP cadre of IAS, UP cadre of IAS includes IAS officers of the UP state. It is not referring to the UP state as such. That group of IAS officers who are forming one particular group, so that is what is cadre. So it means if at all you are getting UP cadre, उसका मतलब है you are going to be part of the UP cadre. आंध्र प्रदेश cadre का मतलब है when you get Andhra Pradesh cadre, you will be part of the group of officers whom we call it as AP cadre. In the same way, it can be IAS, IPS. IPS का अलग है, IAS का अलग है. So basically, you are going to join that group of people. ठीक है, please write the definition. Cadre means a small group of trained people, a small group of trained people who form basic unit of a military, political or business organization. Full stop. In All India Services, the candidates once selected are assigned cadres based on their preferences, merit and availability. Full stop. Next paragraph. The cadre system of All India Services of All India Services is a deliberate feature to promote quality, impartiality, integrity, full stop. So basically जो भी ऑल इंडिया सर्विसेज है, ओनली फॉर ऑल इंडिया सर्विसेज, नॉट फॉर एनी अदर सेंट्रल सर्विसेज, बिकॉज उसके लिए जरूरी नहीं है. यू आर गोइंग टू वर्क एनीवे फॉर द सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट ओनली, है ना. यूजुअली सेंट्रल सर्विसेज IRS हो गया, ऑडिट एंड अकाउंट हो गया. ऑडिट एंड अकाउंट होगी तो डेफिनेटली विल बी पोस्टेड मेजरली इन दिल्ली NCR में रहता है. सो अदरवाइज स्टेट्स में भी पोस्टिंग मिल जाता है, बट मेजरली विल बी अराउंड दिस. ओके, यू विल हैव टू बी रेगुलरली कनेक्टेड विथ न्यू दिल्ली. अदरवाइज IRS हो गया तो यू विल बी गिवन दैट पर्टिकुलर रीजन ओनली. सो यूजुअली वही रीजन दे देते हैं, ऐसे ज्यादा टू मच ऑफ वेरिएशन नहीं करते, क्योंकि एनीवे द सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट हैज ऑल द डिफरेंट वर्क्स. GST का काम होता है या कस्टम्स का काम होता है, हर जगह में डिस्ट्रीब्यूटेड हो जाते हैं. सो वेर एवर इट इज देयर यू विल बी गिवन पोस्टिंग ओवर देयर, राइट. So they make an attempt, at least they make an attempt to give the closest possible to your home state. That is the central service. Railway से तो आपका स्टेट का सराउंडिंग में जो भी अवेलेबल है वहां पर मिल जाता है. बट ऑल इंडिया सर्विस इज समथिंग डिफरेंट. ऑल इंडिया सर्विस, इफ यू नो, सो यू विल हैव टू फिल दिस कार्डर प्रेफरेंस while appearing for interview. पहले मेंस के टाइम में था, अभी इंटरव्यू के टाइम में है. While appearing for interview, you have to fill the second form of the mains application form. Okay, DAF2 आता है, DAF2. So वहां पर आपको fill करना पड़ेगा. What is the preference for IAS and what is the preference for IPS? Service preference अलग है. Of all the services, what is your order? Okay, IAS पहले, IPS पहले, IPS second, then the foreign service. ऐसे जो भी आपका जो preference होगा, वो service preference है. कार्डर प्रेफरेंस इज डिफरेंट. उसके अंदर IAS का अलग है, IPS का अलग है. ठीक है. इफ यू राइटिंग फॉरेस्ट सर्विस मींस जस्ट बिफोर द फॉरेस्ट सर्विस इंटरव्यू, तब आपका फॉरेस्ट सर्विस का कार्डर फिल करना पड़ता है. वहां पर तो सर्विस एलोकेशन यही नहीं है, एक ही सर्विस का है. सो बेस्ड ऑन योर प्रेफरेंस and based on your merit and based on the availability, they will allocate a particular cadre to you. पहले सर्विस एलोकेशन होगा बिफोर यू ज्वाइन द फाउंडेशन कोर्स. कि ज्वाइनिंग के पहले तो होना चाहिए ना कहां पर कौन सा सर्विस मिलने वाला है. पहले सर्विस एलोकेशन होगा. सो वंस यू आर इनटू द सर्विस, देन विद इन फ्यू डेज यू विल आल्सो गेट द cadre allocation. Okay, usually that happens when you are in the foundation course. And once you finish the foundation course, you will be sent to that particular cadre only. वहीं पे आपको जाके बेसिक ट्रेनिंग भी कंप्लीट करना पड़ेगा. इट इज एज ए पार्ट ऑफ द ट्रेनिंग यू विल गो टू द पर्टिकुलर स्टेट जहां पर आप काम करने वाला है. सो अगेन दोबारा आफ्टर सम टाइम यू विल गो बैक टू कंप्लीट योर कोर्स. 2 साल का जो ओवरऑल ट्रेनिंग रहता है वो खत्म होने के बाद यू विल बी पोस्टेड इन दैट पर्टिकुलर cadre. Initial position is usually you will be made as, depending upon the availability of course. So generally क्या करते हैं, तो you will be made as a new IAS officer would be given the post of CEO ZP. Okay, जिला परिषद CEO बनाते हैं. तो फिर for in some regions he is also given in charge of SDM बनाते हैं. बहुत जल्दी इसको DM बना देते हैं. DM DC का जो पोस्ट होता है ना. And once you are in that particular cadre, you have to remain in that state only. State matlab cadre, that group. You have to be part of that group only. So once in the entire career, you will get an opportunity of 4 to 5 years. You can go for deputation to your home state. Home state deputation 4 to 5 years, एक chance मिलता है. And at any point of time in the career, you can go for central deputation. Okay, at any point of time, you can go for central deputation. Usually they don't prefer the young officers because they want at least some experience. उसके बाद में you think that you don't want to work in that particular state, you can go for central deputation. Many, and उसके बाद में वो भी थोड़ा सा fixed time के लिए रहता है. And with some influence you can get it continued, है ना, continue तो कर सकते हैं, because even they would need officers at the central level, right? That is overall cadre system. So what is this? What are the issues with this cadre system? See the first, chalo let's hear it from you. What do you think are the issues? See, foreign service is not all India service. Foreign service is not all India service. ठीक है, उनका जो पोस्टिंग सब डिसाइड करते हैं हमारा मिनिस्ट्री ऑफ एक्सटर्नल अफेयर्स. द वे ऑल अदर सेंट्रल सर्विसेज आर ऑल्सो डिसाइडेड, इन द सेम वे फॉरेन सर्विस का भी जो उनका मिनिस्ट्री है उसके थ्रू डिसाइड होता है. IRS तो सेंट्रल सर्विस है, आई ऑलरेडी टोल्ड यू. Allocation, I have given the brief about how exactly the cadre is allocated. We'll discuss about this. Cadre allocation policy discuss करना है, तो we'll come to that. So Divyansh is saying not get home cadre, home state cadre. That is not a issue. That is a deliberate feature. That should be promoted actually. ठीक है, बताता हूँ उसके बारे में. We'll talk about that. Some states are preferred, some are not preferred. That is a good issue. Then results in inefficiency. कैसे? How it results in inefficiency? Neha, can you elaborate? कम्युनिकेशन गैप, कल्चरल डाइवर्सिटी, बात तो वही था ना, इसी के लिए तो उनको वहां पर रखा था. प्रोविंशियलाइजेशन, कोलिशन विद लोकल लीडर्स, गुड अमित. और डिफिकल्टी इन अडेप्टिंग कल्चर एंड लैंग्वेज. ट्रस्ट मी दिव्यांश, वो डिफिकल्टी नहीं है. If you are clearing UPSC and becoming IAS officers, adapting to the local culture, local language is not that difficult. That is going to be easier. आपको ऐसे train कर देते हैं. The issues are little bit different. Okay, let's talk about these issues. The first major issue, the cadre system of All India Service is going against the nature of All India Service itself. What do you mean by All India Service? All India Service, that overall, that you belong to the nation, not one particular state. You are an officer of central government. You work for the state government, you work in a particular area, but you are working from the overall perspective, central perspective में काम करना है, right? Overall you are under the officer, you are under the control of central government, right? ये जो cadre system है, over a period of time, it has gone against the nature of All India Service itself. It is not giving any All India outlook. Once you are there, you will get used to the local culture, local language, local regional influences. You will come under it within a short period of time, because the state government is continuously trying to influence you by controlling your promotion, transfer, posting, है ना? So you will definitely come under the influence of state government, क्योंकि आपको पता है you have to work your entire career in this particular state only. तो किसका बात सुनना है? सेंटर का बात सुनना है, स्टेट का बात सुनना है? स्टेट का तो सुनना है, क्योंकि they are going to give you the good promotion, good transfer. Fine. So this is what happens in reality. It is actually diminishing the nature of All India. Okay, the nature of All India, जो जिस आइडिया से ये बना था, उसी आइडिया के अगेंस्ट ही जा रहे हैं, है ना, बिकॉज यू आर बिकमिंग अनदर state government employee by coming under the influence of state government, by coming under the influence of regional leaders. वो ओवरऑल ऑल इंडिया आउटलुक को कम कर देता है. By limiting you to a particular state, by limiting the officer to a particular state, it is limiting the overall outlook of all India. That is first one. Please write. It diminishes all India character diminishes all India character and limits the officer's concern, limits the officer's concern to local issues. Okay, this was first point. Second, collusion with local politicians. Collusion with local politicians for preferred postings. For preferred postings. Third, another major issue is that आपको बोल दिया है कि पूरा सर्विस आप इसी स्टेट में रहोगे. It is giving you a kind of permanency of cadre. Whether you perform well or don't perform, you are anyway going to be in this particular state only. है ना, आप अच्छे से काम करो या ना करो, you are going to be here only. So it is no incentive for you to perform well. That gives inefficiency in the service. अगर ऐसे है तो अच्छा काम किया तो अच्छी जगह में होगा, ओके, जल्दी प्रमोशन होगा, जल्दी ट्रांसफर होगा या लेट ट्रांसफर होगा, जो भी. It is not related to your work at all. The permanency of cadre, whether you do good or not, anyway you are going to stay in the same region, same state for the entire service. It breeds a kind of inefficiency. Next point, permanency of cadre. Permanency of cadres result in inefficiency and ineffectiveness. Then since there is a huge variation in the cadre size across India, some of them are preferred, some of them are not preferred. Best example, UP cadre and Sikkim cadre. UP cadre, it contains a group of large number of officers. और जितना ज्यादा ऑफिसर्स रहते हैं, जितना ज्यादा ग्रुप रहता है, उनका इन्फ्लुएंस ज्यादा रहता है इन द एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन. ठीक है, so even if there is some kind of tussle between the officer and the politician, if the entire cadre supports you, even the politician will back off. Fine, ये तो होता है. It depends upon the strength of the cadre. In a positive sense I am saying, it is in a negative sense also. जितना ज्यादा स्ट्रेंथ है, जितना ज्यादा पावर है, करप्शन भी ज्यादा हो सकता है. Fine, because you are protected, you are well protected by your colleagues. हो सकता है, possibility है. I am not saying होगा. So people always prefer the larger cadre, बड़ा size, because it's always the officers of same service, they are trying to protect each other's interest, right? Come to Sikkim, 2-3 districts है, 3-4 districts होगा, बहुत छोटा cadre है, उनका ज्यादा power नहीं रहता, उनका ज्यादा authority नहीं रहता है. Fine. That is the difference between the states having higher number and lower number. So usually only there are few preferred cadres where there is a higher competition. People want to go over there. That is also diminishing a kind of all India look. All India look मतलब क्या है? You are an all India service officer. You are expected to work anywhere in India. कहीं पे भी posting दे दो, आपको काम करना चाहिए. Right? You should not say मैं यहीं पे काम करूंगा, यहीं पे restrict रहूंगा. नहीं. That is not expected out of you. Few of you are saying home cadre नहीं मिलता है. No. Please don't give this answer in interview if at all the question comes. You are selected to all India service. Okay, Indian administrative service, Indian police service. That means you are representing the entire India. कहीं पे भी काम करो. You should think from the overall perspective, not in a local manner. है ना? You want only इसी का ही डेवलपमेंट चाहिए तो इंडिया का चलो छोड़ देते हैं. ऐसे ऐसे नहीं है. So you are ready. You should be ready to work anywhere in India. Given the opportunity, you should be ready to work anywhere in India. This is going against that. Okay, next point. The large variation in size of cadres makes some of them preferred and some of them not. And this cadre policy, the cadre based system also opposes lateral entry. It opposes lateral entry. Why? Why would anyone who is in the service will support those who are coming from outside the service? Lateral entry क्या होता है? Taking someone who is not in the service, इनको IAS officer बना देते हैं. That is what is lateral entry. There is some provision of lateral entry. We'll talk about this. Reforms में बात करेंगे. So none of the in-service officers would support the lateral entry, but in some regions we need lateral entry. In some areas where there is a requirement of some kind of special knowledge, domain experience चाहिए, वहां पर lateral entry चाहिए. The cadre based system totally goes against lateral entry. है ना? Because they work as a single unit, single group. So this one, the cadre based system opposes lateral entry of persons with specialized knowledge तो अभी बात करते हैं न्यू कैडर पॉलिसी ऑफ 2017. के अभी 4 साल हो गया, बट फिर भी ये दिस इज द लेटेस्ट पॉलिसी. सो लेट मी जस्ट टॉक अबाउट दिस. So before 2017, if any of you know how exactly the cadre allocation was done, it was a linear arrangement. All the cadres, see, not every state is a cadre. Majority of the time, each individual state is a cadre, I agree on that. But few of the cadres like Agmat, सुना है अगमट कैडर? AGMUT, अरुणाचल, गोवा, मिजोरम यूनियन टेरिटरीज. ओके, अरुणाचल, गोवा, मिजोरम यूनियन टेरिटरीज, दे आर ऑल क्लब टुगेदर. ऐसे कुछ कैडर हैं हु आर ग्रुप टुगेदर. Assam, Meghalaya is one cadre, like that. So earlier, the cadres were given in a linear order. You are just supposed to give your linear preference of cadre. So I want one volunteer. So let's see if any of you want to get your cadre allocated. आपका cadre allocation करवा देते हैं अभी. Okay, please. Any of you? Step in for volunteering. Okay, let's take स्निग्धा. चलो, स्निग्धा आप कहां से? विच स्टेट? व्हाट इज योर होम स्टेट? ओके, बाकी लोग थोड़ा सा साइलेंट रहिए. लेट्स टेक सम इनपुट्स फ्रॉम स्निग्धा. ओके, स्निग्धा इज फ्रॉम दिल्ली. कोई बात नहीं, सबका हो जाएगा. जब यूपीएससी क्लियर हो जाएगा सबका कैडर लोकेशन हो जाएगा. लेट्स टेक वन एग्जांपल फॉर नाउ. ओके, स्निग्धा इज फ्रॉम दिल्ली. सो दिल्ली देयर इज नो सेपरेट कैडर एंड दिल्ली कम्स फ्रॉम अगमट. ओके, बीइंग ए यूनियन टेरिटरी, दिल्ली कम्स फ्रॉम अगमट. So earlier, if at all we are doing allocation for Snigdha, so her preference would have been, first preference is Agmat. Next preference Delhi के surrounding में है यूपी, यूपी सेकंड. इस तरफ में हरियाणा, हरियाणा इज थर्ड, है ना. थोड़ा सा नीचे हो गया तो चलो, थोड़ा सा ऊपर गया तो पंजाब होगा, थोड़ा सा नीचे गया तो मध्य प्रदेश. टुवर्ड्स द ईस्ट उत्तराखंड. ठीक है. सो यूजुअली पीपल वुड प्रिफर हैविंग द cadres in the close vicinity of their home. Okay, that is how earlier even the candidates used to select. That is how the candidates used to select. That is how it was done. Okay, let's say Uttarakhand हो गया. Then let's say Bihar, Rajasthan, so and so. फिर आता है हमारा southern states, then north eastern states. ऐसे overall whatever the number of cadres are there. So as per the earlier policy, this is older policy. So let's say Snigdha has got some rank, okay, and IAS का allocation हो रहा है. First, they will take the vacancy in Agmat cadre. Okay, उनका फर्स्ट प्रेफरेंस है अगमट. एंड अगमट में जाके देखते हैं वेदर देर इज एनी अवेलेबिलिटी ऑफ IAS post, if there is any vacancy in Agmat cadre. If it is not available, then they will go to the next cadre, UP. They will say whether it is available here or not. If it is not available, then they will go to Haryana. Haryana में available नहीं है. पंजाब, पंजाब में available नहीं है. मध्य प्रदेश, then उत्तराखंड, then बिहार, then राजस्थान. Let's say finally राजस्थान में available है, राजस्थान मिल गया. So usually within one or two choice itself you will get the allocation. है ना, कॉम्बिनेशन लगा दो जो भी अवेलेबल है, अगल बगल में एक दो इसमें चांस में तो मिल जाना चाहिए. सो बिकॉज ऑफ दिस यूजुअली द कैंडिडेट फ्रॉम वन पर्टिकुलर रीजन आर ऑलवेज लिमिटेड टू दैट पर्टिकुलर रीजन ओनली. फॉर एग्जाम्पल, ए कैंडिडेट इज फ्रॉम कर्नाटका. कर्नाटका नहीं मिला है तो आंध्रा तो मिलेगा, आंध्रा नहीं मिला तो तमिलनाडु मिलेगा, तमिलनाडु नहीं मिला है तो केरला तो मिलेगा, या महाराष्ट्र मिलेगा, या तेलंगाना मिलेगा, ऐसे सराउंडिंग में ही रहता है. दे विल रिमेन इन द सराउंडिंग ओनली. दैट हैज लिमिटेड देम टू दैट पर्टिकुलर रीजन ओनली. तो ऑल इंडिया तो गया नहीं. वी वॉन्टेड मोर न्यूट्रल ओपिनियन of all the officers coming from all the different parts of the country. Everyone should be involved in all the different regions, right? ये तो हो ही नहीं रहा था. It was not happening at all. So that's why they brought a new cadre policy. देखो रैंक तो जो भी रैंक है, इट डजेंट मैटर, दे विल सी द अवेलेबिलिटी ओनली. ठीक है, फर्स्ट रैंक है तो पहले अवेलेबिलिटी मिल जाएगा, बाद में आते आते अवेलेबिलिटी कम होते जाएगा, क्योंकि देर आर सर्टेन फ्यू कैडर्स विच आर मोर प्रिफर्ड, वो पहले ऑक्यूपाई हो जाता है. बट दिस वॉज हैपनिंग अर्लियर, अभी थोड़ा सा चेंज है. सो व्हाट इज द प्रेजेंट मेथड ऑफ कैडर अलोकेशन? See, all the cadres are now divided into 5 different zones. Zone 1, Zone 2, Zone 3, Zone 4, Zone 5. All the cadres are divided into 5 different zones. Zone 1 contains all those cadres in the northern region. Okay, officially there is no region as such, मैं बता रहा हूं. All the cadres in the northern region. For example, Agmat, Jammu Kashmir. Jammu Kashmir पहले separate था, अभी तो it's part of Agmat cadre only. Himachal, Uttarakhand, Punjab, Rajasthan, Haryana. These are the first zone. Second zone, little bit east. Okay, eastern zone, which includes UP, Bihar, Jharkhand, Odisha. All of them are clubbed together as a second zone. Third zone देखो western. गुजरात, महाराष्ट्र, मध्य प्रदेश, छत्तीसगढ़. थोड़ा सा वेस्टर्न में है. गुजरात, महाराष्ट्र, मध्य प्रदेश, छत्तीसगढ़. फोर्थ, नॉर्थ ईस्ट, विच इंक्लूड्स वेस्ट बंगाल, सिक्किम, असम, मेघालय, मणिपुर, त्रिपुरा. फिफ्थ वन, सदर्न. ओके, फोर्थ वन इज नॉर्थ ईस्ट, फिफ्थ वन इज साउथ, विच इंक्लूड्स तेलंगाना, आंध्र प्रदेश, कर्नाटका, तमिलनाडु, केरला. ठीक है, ग्रुपिंग बना दिया. द फर्स्ट थिंग यू हैव टू गिव द प्रेफरेंस फॉर द जोन. यू हैव टू गिव द प्रेफरेंस फॉर द जोन. स्निग्धा बताइए, व्हाट इज योर प्रेफरेंस? कौन सी जोन, विच जोन वुड यू कंसिडर? आई अज्यूम दैट यू वांट जोन 1 एज द फर्स्ट, क्योंकि अगमट तो इसके अंदर आता है. प्लीज गिव मी योर प्रेफरेंस ऑफ जोन्स. उसके बाद में जो प्रेफरेंस है 1 2 3 4 5 आपको देना पड़ेगा. एंड यू विल नॉट गेट होम डिस्ट्रिक्ट इन होम कैडर. यूजुअली इट इज द रोल दैट होम कैडर तो मिल सकता है, बट होम डिस्ट्रिक्ट में आपको पोस्टिंग नहीं देंगे. मतलब वेर एवर योर बर्थ प्लेस इज देयर, बर्थ डिस्ट्रिक्ट है, वहां पर अलोकेट नहीं करते यूजुअली. चलो, सेकेंड वन इज वेस्टर्न, थर्ड वन इज ईस्टर्न, and fourth is south, fifth is northeast. This is for zone. है ना? देखो, usually the tendency is that you always want to remain next to your home. है ना? That is how usually candidates also think. Home के पास में तो आराम है, थोड़ा सा easy रहता है, काम भी easy रहेगा. This is the overall tendency, right? So Snigdha is also, she has chosen, like, can you see? The first is zone 1, second is zone 3, western, थोड़ा सा अगल बगल में रहते हैं. So then zone 3 थोड़ा सा ईस्ट में, फिर साउथ में आते हैं, फिर फाइनली नॉर्थ ईस्ट में जाते हैं. इन दिस लीनियर ऑर्डर यूजुअली एवरीवन्स प्रेफरेंस इन द फाइनल प्रेफरेंस जो होता है ना, दैट इज ऑलवेज नॉर्थ ईस्ट, except you are from northeast region. Only those candidates from northeast, they would have given northeast. Otherwise, many of them were not at all preferring to go over there. वो पहले था, अभी कैसे होगा बताता हूं. So within the zone, first you have to give the preference for zone 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 हो गया. And within the zone, what is your preference? You have to give. Okay, थोड़ा सा time लग जाएगा. Let me assume your preference. Okay, first preference, I assume your first preference is Agmat. Okay, since you would want Delhi as your home state, so first preference Agmat. हाँ, ये भी rule है कि if at all you are not giving the home cadre as first preference, you will not be considered for that particular cadre at all. Home cadre को first preference नहीं मिला, बाद में भी नहीं मिलने वाला है. Okay, that is the rule. Okay, it's a rule by DOPT. So अगर होम कार्डर को नहीं दे रहे, यू आर थिंकिंग यूपी मिलना चाहिए, अगर यूपी नहीं मिला है तो देन आई वुड प्रेफर द अगमट कार्डर. ऐसे दिमाग में है तो अगमट को सेकंड प्रेफरेंस देते ही आपका वो कैंसिल हो जाएगा. फर्स्ट प्रेफरेंस से डायरेक्टली थर्ड प्रेफरेंस ही कंसिडर होगा. इफ एट ऑल यू आर नॉट गिविंग द होम कार्डर एज फर्स्ट प्रेफरेंस, यू विल नॉट बी कंसिडर्ड लेटर एट ऑल. ये दिमाग में रखो. सो यूजुअली अगमट आपका है तो अगमट फर्स्ट प्रेफरेंस होगा. देन सेकेंड आई अज्यूम राजस्थान है, राजस्थान बगल में है, राजस्थान इज कंसिडर्ड एज ए गुड कार्डर. देन हरियाणा है ना, देन उत्तराखंड, उत्तराखंड इज ऑल्सो कंसिडर्ड एज ए गुड कार्डर. देन पंजाब, और क्या है, हिमाचल प्रदेश. ठीक है, लेट्स से दिस इज द ऑर्डर. दिस इज योर फर्स्ट प्रेफरेंस इन फर्स्ट जोन, मतलब द ऑर्डर इन फर्स्ट जोन. सेकेंड प्रेफरेंस क्या है, जोन 3, दैट इज ईस्टर्न. इसमें है हमारा गुजरात, महाराष्ट्र, मध्य प्रदेश एंड छत्तीसगढ़. लेट्स से यू वांट मध्य प्रदेश एज फर्स्ट, गुजरात एज सेकंड इन दैट पर्टिकुलर. ओके, मध्य प्रदेश फर्स्ट, गुजरात सेकंड, महाराष्ट्र थर्ड, छत्तीसगढ़ फोर्थ. ठीक है, एंड सेकेंड जोन में देखो, दैट मीन्स योर थर्ड प्रेफरेंस यूपी, बिहार, झारखंड, ओडिशा. सो यूपी तो बगल में ही, यू माइट वांट यूपी, देन बिहार, देन झारखंड, देन ओडिशा. लेट्स से फिर साउथ में है. साउथ में इन टर्म्स ऑफ एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन पीपल प्रिफर कर्नाटका, आंध्र प्रदेश. अगर पुलिस है तो दे प्रिफर एक्चुअली तमिलनाडु. सो दैट इज जनरल, आपके इंटरेस्ट के हिसाब से आप जा सकते हो. कर्नाटका, तमिलनाडु, कर्नाटका, आंध्र प्रदेश, तमिलनाडु, तेलंगाना एंड केरला. लेट्स से फाइन. एंड लास्ट वेस्ट बंगाल, सिक्किम है. लेट्स से वेस्ट बंगाल, सिक्किम, असम, मेघालय, असम, मेघालय, देन मणिपुर, त्रिपुरा. इसमें नागालैंड भी आता है. दिस हाउ यू हैव टू फिल योर प्रेफरेंस. फर्स्ट यू हैव टू गिव द जोन, zonal preference. Second, within each zone you have to fill your order in that particular zone. Allocation कैसे होता है? First thing they will consider your rank. जो first rank है उनका पहले उठाते हैं. They will go through the matrix, whichever is available they will allocate. Then comes the next one, then comes the next one. ऐसे rank का order में चलता है. So whenever your rank comes for allocation, let's say you are in one of the earlier ranks only. Okay, first they will take the first zone of your preference. Okay, your preference first zone is zone 1. In that first they will see the first preference of zone 1. Okay, they will see your first preference is Agmat. Whether any IAS vacancy is there in Agmat or not. If it is not therein, okay, this is cancelled. The next preference is not given here. rather it is given here. Once the first preference of first zone is not available, they will go to the next zone's first preference, not the first zone second preference. है ना? अगर ये अवेलेबल नहीं है तो राजस्थान को कंसिडर नहीं करेंगे, नेक्स्ट प्रेफर्ड जोन में जो फर्स्ट प्रेफरेंस है उसको कंसिडर करेंगे. They will consider the next zone's first preference. They will see whether there is availability of Madhya Pradesh. No, मध्य प्रदेश भी नहीं है. फिर यहां नहीं जाएगा. थर्ड प्रेफरेंस जोन 3, whether it is there in UP or not. No, it is not there in UP or not. यूपी में अवेलेबल नहीं है. लेट्स से यूपी में अवेलेबल नहीं है. Then the fourth preference, whether it is available in Karnataka or not. It is not available in Karnataka. Then finally, zone 5, it is available in West Bengal. Yes, you will get West Bengal. मतलब, if you are not getting any of the first preference in your first zone, you will have lesser chances of getting other states in your first zone. अगर ये मिस हो गया तो नेक्स्ट जोन में जाएगा, नेक्स्ट जोन में जाएगा, नेक्स्ट जोन में जाएगा, नेक्स्ट जोन में जाएगा. लेट्स से वेस्ट बंगाल में भी अवेलेबल नहीं था, देन इट विल कम टू द फर्स्ट जोन्स सेकंड प्रेफरेंस. तब राजस्थान कंसिडर करेंगे. अगर if that time it is available, then they will give. If that is not available, then the second preference in this zone, whether Gujarat is available, that is allocated. If not, the third zone second preference, Bihar is available. No. Fourth zone second preference, Andhra is available. Yes. Final. Right? So usually इसमें क्या होता है, सेकंड प्रेफरेंस में आता ही नहीं है. द लेस प्रेफर्ड जोन, नॉर्थ ईस्ट जोन आते ही कोई भी अवेलेबल होता है यूजुअली, तो वहीं पे मिल जाएगा. सो बेसिकली दिस टाइप ऑफ अलोकेशन was introduced in order to encourage the candidates to work all over India, to bring true all India service, true spirit of national integration. That means you should be ready to work anywhere in India. पहले तो अगमट नहीं है तो राजस्थान, राजस्थान नहीं है तो हरियाणा, हरियाणा नहीं है तो यूके, यूके नहीं है तो पंजाब, नहीं तो एचपी. कोई ना कोई मिल ही जाता था. अभी ये नहीं मिला है तो यू विल नॉट गेट ओवर देयर, नेक्स्ट जोन में आ जाएंगे. इन कहीं ना कहीं मिल ही जाएगा. यू विल गेट इट फॉर श्योर. सो दैट देर इज मोर शफलिंग ऑफ कैंडिडेट्स, है ना, देयर इज मोर शफलिंग ऑफ कैंडिडेट्स. दिस इज द अलोकेशन ऑफ कैडर. इसके अंदर और रूल्स है. I'm just giving you the first layer. Okay, एक और रूल है, the reservation. In every cadre, there are 3 groups. One is general, one is OBC, third one is SC ST. General, OBC, SC ST. ठीक है? And whatever the number of seats available, they will divide 1/3 for insider, 2/3 for outsider. 1/3 for insider, 2/3 for outsider. मतलब 1/3 is reserved for those who are from that particular state. Those whoever is coming from that particular state, whoever has cleared and got the rank, उनके लिए होता है. Okay, let's say top 100 में IAS मिल जाएगा. top 100 में let's say अगमट कैडर, अगमट, दिल्ली, यूनियन टेरिटरी एंड अरुणाचल, ये जो इसके स्टेट्स के अंदर जो भी कैंडिडेट्स है उनके लिए 1/3 रिजर्व्ड एंड 2/3 इज फॉर आउटसाइडर्स, वन हु आर फ्रॉम डिफरेंट स्टेट्स. एंड इनसाइडर में जो यूजुअली फिल हो जाता है, आउटसाइडर में फिर ये प्रेफरेंस आ जाएगा. एंड उसके अंदर भी रिजर्वेशन है, 1/3 फॉर जनरल, 1/3 फॉर ओबीसी, 1/3 फॉर SC ST. ठीक है? अगर एक ही सीट बचा है, 1 year they give it for general, next year for OBC and next year for SC ST. So इतना कॉम्प्लेक्स हो जाता है, many of the times even the first ranker will not get the home state for them. फर्स्ट रैंकर को भी होम स्टेट नहीं मिलता है. You might be a first ranker, there might be a vacancy available in IAS in your home state, and maybe last year जनरल में दिया था, इस ईयर उनको ओबीसी में देना है. दैट इज ए कंपल्शन. फाइन. सो इट इज टू कॉम्प्लेक्स. तो बेस्ट है कि बी प्रिपेयर टू वर्क एनीवेयर इन इंडिया. डोंट लिमिट योर आइडिया, डोंट लिमिट योर माइंड टू वर्क ओनली इन योर होम स्टेट और सराउंडिंग स्टेट्स. In order to experience the actual diversity of India, in order to understand and gain the exposure, please be prepared to work anywhere in India. Is that clear? ठीक है, let's hope Snigdha will get the cadre of her preference, and let's hope all of you clear UPSC and get your preferred cadre. If not, still be happy with whatever the cadre you get. ठीक है. हाँ, इसमें एक चेंज हो सकता है. Then there is one possibility of change of cadre. कार्डर एक बार सेलेक्ट हो गया तो परमानेंट बोलते हैं ना, उसका एक क्लॉज है. थ्रू मैरिज. ओके, सो इफ बोथ द ऑफिसर्स आर बिलोंगिंग टू ऑल इंडिया सर्विस, if both the officers are belonging to all India service and they are marrying each other, you can change the cadre. So let's say there is a female officer and male officer. Female officer from Rajasthan and male officer from, let's say both are from Rajasthan only. Okay, let's say both are from Rajasthan only. But the male officer has got UP cadre and female officer has got Rajasthan cadre. And if they decide to marry, the earlier rule was that पहले ऐसे था, they could have changed to either UP or Rajasthan. उनका cadre change हो जाता है, okay, शादी के through हो जाता है. So usually what they do, to get home cadre they would get married. So this starts immediately once you go to Labasna. Okay, the first thing is matchmaking. Okay, based on the cadre, of course. So many of the times they used to get married for this purpose. Okay, that was cadre based. So that even though you are not from Rajasthan, so even though you are not getting a Rajasthan cadre, by marrying a person who is currently posted in Rajasthan, you can change your cadre to Rajasthan. Okay, that was based on marriage. तो उसको भी गवर्नमेंट ने चेंज कर दिया. अभी ऐसे सपोज इफ वन पर्सन फ्रॉम राजस्थान cadre is marrying another person from UP cadre, they can change the cadre, but they will not be given neither of them. Okay, they will be given neither of them. मतलब आपको यूपी और राजस्थान दोनों छोड़ के तीसरी cadre में साथ में जाना पड़ेगा. Okay, either Agmat or Madhya Pradesh or Bihar. You will not be given Rajasthan as well as UP. दोनों नहीं मिलेगा. This is the present rule. तो पहले था you could have changed the cadre. Okay, जो spouse का cadre है वो उस पे चला जा सकता है, either from UP to Rajasthan or Rajasthan to UP. अभी दोनों अवेलेबल नहीं होगा. You have to change to third cadre or remain in two separate cadres. So that is all about cadre allocation policy. हाँ वही, इससे बढ़िया कि दिमाग अभी लगा दो, अच्छे से पढ़ो, जो अच्छा रैंक ले लो, जो प्रिफर्ड कैडर है मिल जाएगा आपको। इसको समझने से बदले तो बेटर है कि स्टडी वेल। फाइन, सो दैट इज अबाउट द कार्डर एलोकेशन। एंड बीच में ना कार्डर का एक और चेंज भी गवर्नमेंट इंट्रोड्यूस करने का कोशिश किया था, वो बहुत अपोजिशन हो गया। Currently, your preference for your allocation of cadre entirely based on your merit. Merit पहले merit then availability. मतलब first rank को पहले देखते, then the second rank, then the second rank, then third rank, ऐसे continue होता है। That is totally based on your rank. बीच में government wanted to change one more thing. It said it will bring some component of this merit in the foundation course. Okay, मतलब at present your performance in foundation course would not decide your service as well as your cadre. That would be entirely depend on your performance in UPSC examination. बीच में गवर्नमेंट प्रपोज्ड, बोला है कि ऑफिसर जो ट्रेनिंग फाउंडेशन कोर्स में जाते हैं तो तब ज्यादा दे डोंट गिव मच अटेंशन ओवर देयर, दे आर ऑल टोटली रिलैक्स, तो उसको थोड़ा सा सीरियस करवाने के लिए इट सेड दैट लेट्स इंट्रोड्यूस सम ऑफ द मार्क्स फ्रॉम फाउंडेशन कोर्स विल बी कंसिडर्ड फॉर कार्डर एलोकेशन। ना दिस वाज अपोज स्ट्रांगली बिकॉज टिल नाउ इट वाज द यूपीएससी's process which was deciding the service allocation and cadre allocation. Now in the foundation course UPSC is not involved, it is totally government, so government might get some interference, okay, though it might get some power to decide the cadre as well as the service of the candidates. तो इसलिए it was widely opposed, फिर गवर्नमेंट ने इसको बोल दिया कि नहीं, इसको हम इंप्लीमेंट नहीं करने वाला है। ठीक है, अभी at this point of time it is totally based on your performance in UPSC. See, home cadre, if at all you are not getting a home cadre in the first allocation of cadre itself, after some period of time, okay, it is not necessarily it has to be like after 5 years or 10 years, ऐसे कुछ fixed rule नहीं है. After some point of time, once you get some enough experience in your allocated cadre, you can go to the home cadre. You can apply for the deputation for a temporary period of time. Okay, 4 years, 5 years, 6 years, based on the availability, based on the government's policy over there, they will give you the deputation. Okay, home deputation होता है for a limited period of time. After that, you have to go back during your service period. During your service period only, for 4 to 5 years you can stay. Many of the cases they also extend their stay based on the political influence, है ना. अगर अच्छा खासा influence है तो वो थोड़ा सा ऐसे push भी कर सकता है, but वो बहुत high level influence चाहिए उसके लिए. चलो, let's go to the last part so that we can finish this unit today. The issues in civil services in India. Okay, cadre related, service related और भी doubts आएगा, so don't worry. ये सब आप जब मेंस क्लियर करके आएंगे ना, तब और अच्छे से गाइडेंस दे देंगे. विल टॉक अबाउट दैट, बिकॉज तब तक तो आप यू डोंट हैव टू वरी अबाउट दिस. यू विल हैव टू गिव योर प्रेफरेंस एट दैट पॉइंट ऑफ टाइम ओनली. ओके, दैट्स व्हाई वी हैव हमारा इंटरव्यू गाइडेंस प्रोग्राम के टाइम पे, सो वी यूजुअली कंडक्ट दिस स्पेशल सेशंस ऑन अबाउट द इंपॉर्टेंस ऑफ वेरियस कार्डर्स. एंड बहुत सोच समझ के आपको कार्डर फिल करना पड़ेगा, इवन द सर्विसेज ऑल्सो. सो वो तब सोच लेना, अभी इतना ज्यादा सोचने का जरूरी नहीं है. ठीक है, तो अभी आ जाओ, व्हाट आर द इश्यूज एसोसिएटेड विद सिविल सर्विसेज इन इंडिया. कैडर एलोकेशन पॉलिसी का कोई डिक्टेशन नहीं है, यू कैन जस्ट रेफर टू द मटेरियल, वहां पर दिया है एंड इसके ऊपर क्वेश्चन आने का चांसेस कम है. सो आई जस्ट वांट टू एक्सप्लेन दैट फॉर यू गाइस एज अ पार्ट ऑफ दिस टॉपिक. आपका खुद के लिए एक्सप्लेन करना चाहता था. सो अदरवाइज डोंट वरी अबाउट दैट, इसके ऊपर क्वेश्चन आने का चांसेस बहुत कम है. ओके, यू कैन जस्ट रेफर टू द मटेरियल इफ यू जस्ट वांट टू write anything about that. So आप बताइए what are the issues associated with the civil services in India? Here you don't have to limit to only IAS. Okay, civil services includes everyone, all the different services, central services and all the different hierarchy. सबको इंक्लूड करके क्या क्या इशू हो सकता है. लैक ऑफ ओपननेस, लैक ऑफ डायनामिज्म, स्ट्रक्चरल इश्यूज, कोलैबोरेटिव गवर्नेंस, अच्छा, डिस्प्रोपोर्शनेट रिप्रेजेंटेशन, ट्रांसपेरेंसी, अकाउंटेबिलिटी. ये ट्रांसपेरेंसी अकाउंटेबिलिटी तो हर जगह में डाल सकते हो ना आप लोग, सही है. स्टेटस कोइस्ट टेंडेंसी, ठीक है. ओवरऑल सबको पता है. प्लीज राइट ब्रीफ पॉइंट्स, है ना, ब्रीफ इश्यूज, देन विल कम टू द सजेशंस. फर्स्ट इंपॉर्टेंट इश्यू इज करप्शन, करप्ट प्रैक्टिसेस. Corrupt practices, corruption due to lack of transparency and accountability. Then the culture of secrecy, the culture of secrecy. That means if you see how exactly our bureaucrats work, there is no work culture of openness. There is no work culture of sharing the information. है ना, जितना information को आप protect करके रखोगे उतना power है आपके पास, right? So usually the culture of secrecy, because that gives you that elitism, है ना, that you are working in something which is away from the people, ऐसे you are someone different, not one among the common man, ऐसे वाला आता है. लोग ये चाहता है, the people who are bureaucrats, they want this. Third one, the political interference. Political interference through transfer and promotions. Then lack of dynamism, lack of dynamism. मतलब जो भी हमारा ब्यूरोक्रेटिक सिस्टम है, द ब्यूरोक्रेटिक सिस्टम विच वी हैव inherited from the British, the Weberian model of bureaucracy. So they go with the rule based, systematic, बहुत rigid setup में चलता है ना. So that is not something which is required in the present day. It should be dynamic. It should be as per the need of the people. है ना, we should understand the need of the people and our work is to fulfill that, not just to be too rigid. है ना, ये rule ऐसा, ये rule के हिसाब से नहीं होगा. So most of the places, that is what is the issue, the lack of dynamism. Then over centralization. over centralization. Then the colonial attitude, that is elitism. Then the debate of generalist versus specialist. जनरलिस्ट वर्सेस स्पेशलिस्ट. ये जनरलिस्ट वर्सेस स्पेशलिस्ट क्या है? सी जो भी सिविल सर्वेंट है, यूजुअली हमारा आईएएस ऑफिसर्स का बात ले लो, सो दे आर सेलेक्टेड थ्रू ए कॉम्पिटिटिव एग्जाम विच हैज कॉमन सब्जेक्ट्स, मोस्ट प्रोबेबली कॉमन सब्जेक्ट. एक अभी ऑप्शन एक बचा है. सो उसके बाद यू आर ट्रेन्ड कॉमनली अलॉन्ग विथ एवरीवन, है ना. आपका एकेडमिक ट्रेनिंग हो गया या ऑन द ग्राउंड ट्रेनिंग हो गया. इट इज a very generic manner. That's why usually civil servants are called as generalists. Why it is in such way? Why they are made to be generalist? Because the idea is you should know something of everything. Okay, the idea is you should know something of everything. Because you don't have to do that work. You should make others to do. Right? You should supervise, you should overview. आपको पता होना चाहिए जो काम कर रहे हैं, सबऑर्डिनेट काम कर रहे हैं, तो वो क्या कर रहे हैं आपको पता होना चाहिए. So IAS officers are considered to be the most the best example for generalist because they don't work in one specific area. They don't work in one specific area. So but with the modern time, the liberalization के बाद में, the IT revolution के बाद में, the digitalization के बाद में, we have started to see that there is also a need for specialists. For example, telecom industry. You know, for implementation of 5G in India, we need someone at that position, जो भी project का overall implementation देख रहा है. So he should know about the technology of 5G, technology of the telecom, कैसे काम करती है, सब तो थोड़ा सा तो idea होना चाहिए. You cannot put someone who is unrelated over there and ask him to oversee. So like that, there are many such fields which require some idea, some experience. That is what we call as specialist. Okay, there is an upcoming in the present day there is an increasing need, the growing need for specialist. This debate, generalist होना चाहिए या specialist होना चाहिए. If you are part of the normal bureaucracy, you become a generalist. You will have lesser knowledge about a specific area. The present bureaucracy, the present system of civil services will not encourage you to have a more special knowledge. That is one of the limitation. ठीक है, ये तो जनरल इश्यूज आप लिस्ट कर सकते हो, इसमें कोई भी बात नहीं है. Okay, the point is about reforms. यहां पर हमें नोट करना है कि what are the reforms suggested by second ARC. The reforms required in civil services as suggested by second ARC. So let's take up the issues one by one and try to make a note of the opinion of second ARC in this context. Okay, second ARC का बहुत डिटेल में बात हुआ है. The reforms required. Starting from entry. Entry क्या है? हमारा यूपीएससी एग्जामिनेशन. What are the reforms required at entry stage? है ना. So हमारा if you ask our aspirants बोलते हैं और अटेम्प्ट दे दो, एज रिलैक्स कर दो, एज बढ़ा दो. But actual government committees and all other many of the committees and also the government opinion is that age reduce करना है. Okay, the idea is that it is easy to train the young minds. But that is not a general rule. Of course, the people who start late, one who is eager to learn, definitely they can cope. That becomes clearly visible in interview. Interview में पता चल जाता है. कुछ लोग बोलते हैं ज्यादा नंबर ऑफ अटेम्प्ट्स हो गया तो उनको इंटरव्यू में कट डाउन कर देता है. ऐसा नहीं है. इंटरव्यू में पता चल जाता है वेदर यू आर कीन टू लर्न, वेदर यू हैव दैट एनर्जी टू अडैप्ट. So that's where we have good examples of the people clearing in 5th attempt, 6th attempt, or those who have started late, है ना, बहुत काम करके at the age of 29, 30 they are starting. So उनके लिए भी there is a good opportunity. But overall idea of many of the committees who have recommended the changes in UPSC, they have recommended to reduce the entry age, including second ARC. You know what is the entry age suggested by second ARC? 21 to 25 for general merit, 21 to 28 for OBC, 21 to 29 for SC ST. ठीक है. 21 to 25 for general, 21 to 28 for OBC, 21 to 29 for SC ST. With number of attempts, 3 attempts for general, 5 attempts for OBC, and 6 attempts for SC ST. This is the recommendation of second ARC. Second ARC तो बहुत पहले आया था. इनफैक्ट उसके बाद में सेकेंड ARC आने के बाद में गवर्नमेंट हैड इंक्रीज द एज. पहले अर्लियर द करेंट एज इज 32 विथ 6 अटेम्प्ट्स, राइट. अर्लियर इट वाज 30 विथ 4 अटेम्प्ट्स. जनरल के लिए देयर वर ओनली 4 अटेम्प्ट्स विथ मैक्सिमम एज ऑफ 30. सो इट वाज आई थिंक इन 2012 में इंक्रीज किया था. 2012 में इंक्रीज हुआ था. And they increased to 32 with 6 attempts. So please write the recommendations of second ARC at the entry stage. Entry stage में reforms, they are one of the long pending, and not only age and number of attempts, there are other things. इसके बारे में बात करता हूँ. पहले लिखो age. Entry age suggested by second ARC is 21 to 25 for GM, 21 to 28 for OBC, 29 for SC ST with these many number of attempts. Along with this, second ARC has also suggested the establishment of National Institute of Public Administration. National Institute of Public Administration to train the aspirants in specialized centers. In specialized center. So basically ये recommendation है in the context of syllabus for UPSC. Currently the earlier practice, ये जो practice है पहले, if you know about the earlier pattern, there was more weightage for optional and less weightage for general. General studies का जो weightage है वो बहुत कम था before 2012. There were 2 optional, each optional 2 papers. Okay, basically 4 optional paper था. General studies का 2 ही paper था, एक essay का था. This was your mains. The idea was that why they had so much preference to optional, because earlier times the number of candidates who were appearing for civil services itself was lesser. Okay, the number of people who were appearing themselves were lesser. In order to encourage people to write more number of people to come forward to write, they brought this idea, chalo let's test them in their own subject. If they are expert in their own subject, then we'll select them and we'll train them. That was the overall idea. That's why they had introduced 2 optional में test करेंगे. But now the competition is huge. There is no issue about the competition. There is no issue about the participation. We want them to be as in the direction required for the civil services. Civil service में जाके काम करने का जो requirement है वो उसको यहीं पे टेस्ट कर लेता है. इतने लोग अवेलेबल है तो मिल ही जाते हैं, तो हमारा ट्रेनिंग का काम बच जाएगा. इसलिए एक ऑप्शन हटाया, एक और ऑप्शनल भी हटेगा इन द कमिंग फ्यू ईयर्स. इट इज अ लॉन्ग पेंडिंग रिकमेंडेशन दैट ऑप्शनल को पूरा हटा ही दो. तो इसलिए if at all they are being tested in only general studies, okay, the idea is in which subject they should be tested more. There comes public administration, because the civil servants are going to work in the area of public administration only. जो फाउंडेशन कोर्स में ट्रेनिंग होता है ना, वहां पर यू आर गोइंग टू स्टडी अबाउट दिस, हाउ एग्जैक्टली द एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन वर्क, इंडिया एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन कैसे काम करते हैं, इसके बारे में आप पढ़ोगे. उसको अभी से पढ़ना शुरू कर सकते हो ना. सो सेकेंड ARC सजेस्टेड लेट्स एस्टैब्लिश ए इंस्टीट्यूट कॉल्ड एज नेशनल इंस्टीट्यूट ऑफ पब्लिक एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन एंड गिव ट्रेनिंग टू एस्पिरेंट्स in the area of public administration, and then we can test them in that area. So that was one of the recommendation. Very good recommendation, but उसके लिए बहुत ज्यादा चेंजेस करना है, बहुत ज्यादा मेहनत भी है गवर्नमेंट की तरफ से, वो तो होने का चांसेस बहुत कम है. That was National Institute of Public Administration. Then it had also recommended about the pattern, okay, the examination pattern. So basically जो अभी the current pattern of prelims, mains and interview 3 stage process है ना, उसको 2 stage बनाने के लिए recommendation दिया है. The recommendation is about to make it 2 stage with 2 options. In the first option, combined prelims plus mains as a single examination. Whoever qualifies in this, give them the opportunity for पर्सनल इंटरव्यू, पर्सनालिटी टेस्ट जो बोलते हैं हम. कंबाइंड प्रीलिम्स एंड मेंस टुगेदर, सेलेक्ट द कैंडिडेट्स एंड देन कंडक्ट इंटरव्यू. दिस वाज फर्स्ट चांस. इन द सेकेंड चांस और सेकेंड पॉसिबिलिटी, कंडक्ट प्रीलिम्स फर्स्ट. Whoever clears prelims, then give the chance of mains plus interview together. मतलब if you clear prelims, you will be giving both mains as well as interview, and the combined mark will be considered for rank. Whoever is writing in mains, they will all be given interview also. Combined marks will be given the preference for rank. यहां पर क्या होता है, प्रीलिम्स का मेंस का दोनों एक ही बार में एग्जामिनेशन हो जाएगा. Whoever is writing prelims, they will also write mains. In that you will select few candidates, then you conduct interview, and then you finally select, in order to reduce the overall number of different stages. Okay, so इसमें बोलता है कि prelims mains दोनों मर्ज करके 3 दिन में खत्म कर दो by reducing the number of subjects, and whoever is getting selected, do the interview and select among themselves. नहीं तो prelims करके then you do the mains and interview together, then give the final ranking. That is about the pattern. Okay, 2 options यही लिखो, suggested by second ARC, prelims plus mains then interview, or prelims and then mains and interview together. And regarding optional, second ARC has clearly said optional को हटा दो. Please remove optional. It is not only second ARC, many of the committees who have suggested reforms in civil services examination, all of them have suggested to remove optional. But immediately तो नहीं हटेगा, so don't worry, whoever is preparing for 2022 या 2023, 23 में अगर चांस है तो 22 में ही गवर्नमेंट विल ब्रिंग ए नोटिफिकेशन इंटीमेटिंग अबाउट द चेंजेस, क्योंकि ऑलरेडी इतना सारा चेंजेस हो गया इन द लास्ट 10 ईयर्स है ना, सो उसी के ऊपर ही इतना सारा इशू हो रहा है, एक्स्ट्रा टाइम दे दो वगैरह वगैरह. तो इसलिए गवर्नमेंट इज नॉट गोइंग टू चेंज एनीथिंग इन द रीसेंट टाइम. सो बट ऑप्शनल तो हटेगा इन द कमिंग ईयर्स, डेफिनेटली वो हटेगा. सो वेन एवर इट इज गोइंग टू हैपन, गवर्नमेंट इज गोइंग टू गिव एनफ टाइम फॉर द कैंडिडेट्स टू एडजस्ट. सो नो नीड टू वरी ओवर देयर. This is about the entry. Yes, in the second, whoever is giving mains, they will also give interview together. दोनों का assess करके then they will give the final rank. Second reform in the area of accountability. How to increase accountability. क्योंकि अभी एक माइंडसेट है, एक बार यूपीएससी क्लियर हो गया तो परमानेंट है आपका जॉब. Once you are an IAS, nobody can remove you. Okay, since you are given promotion based on your seniority, there is no incentive for you to work, and because you are going to be there till your retirement, आप काम करो या ना करो, पोस्टिंग तो कहीं पे इधर उधर डालेंगे, बट ऐसे तो नहीं बोलेंगे कि आप काम नहीं कर रहे हो तो हटा दो, ऐसे तो नहीं बोलेंगे, है ना. ये भी थोड़ा सा चेंज हो रहा है. वेर एवर देर इज, इन द रीसेंट गवर्नमेंट दे हैव डन सम चेंजेस इन द रूल्स. तो कंपल्सरी रिटायरमेंट में भेज रहे हैं, जल्दी रिटायरमेंट भी करवा रहे हैं, ये सारा चीजें है. बट व्हाट सेकंड ARC हैड सेड, हाउ टू ब्रिंग अकाउंटेबिलिटी ऑफ दोज पीपल हु आर थिंकिंग दैट एक बार मेरा सिविल सर्विसेज हो गया तो परमानेंट है, मुझे कोई चेंज नहीं कर सकता है. इन दैट कंटेक्स्ट सेकंड ARC हैज सजेस्टेड फ्यू इंटरेस्टिंग थिंग्स. Second ARC is basically saying that जो भी न्यू रिक्रूटमेंट करोगे, do it only for 20 years of time period. ऐसे मत बोलो कि from entry till your retirement you are going to be there. Recruit them only for 20 years. And during the first 20 years, this 20 years of service, give them 2 intensive reviews about how exactly their work has been. What are his strengths, what are his shortcomings in the way that he is functioning. इसके ऊपर review दे दो. And one review, the first review should be given after 14 years of completion of service, and the second review after 20 years of completion of service. After the 14 years के बाद में एक पहले intensive review मिलेगा आपको, how exactly you have performed in the first 14 years. If at all you are improvising, you are doing better in the next 6 years, that will be assessed in the second review. If you are found good, then only you will be continuing. Otherwise, tata bye bye. Okay, this is the recommendation given by second ARC. Basically, to encourage the officers to be more accountable. ऐसा नहीं सोचना है कि एक बार आ गया तो परमानेंट है, रिटायरमेंट तक रुक जाऊंगा, ऐसे तो नहीं होना चाहिए. सो इसलिए बोल रहे कि बस 20 इयर्स तक उनको रिक्रूट करो, उसके बाद में based on their performance we will continue them after the 20 years. This is the recommendation given by second ARC. Please write here. Second ARC's recommendation. New appointments should be done all new appointments should be done for a period of 20 years. For a period of 20 years. Next point. A system of 2 intensive reviews. A system of 2 intensive reviews first on completion of 14 years, and second on 20 years. Intimating the officer's strengths and shortcomings. Intimating the officer's strengths and shortcomings. Next point. The second review at 20 years. Second review at 20 years would assess the fitness of officer, would assess the fitness of officer for further continuation for further continuation. That is on accountability. How to increase the performance. Accountability is making them accountable. अगर काम नहीं किया तो निकाल देंगे वो. परफॉर्मेंस का बात तब आते हैं whether you are working efficiently or not, effectively or not. Because we have the system of promotion based on seniority. आप काम करोगे पर अच्छा काम करोगे, एवरेज काम करोगे, उससे कुछ फर्क नहीं पड़ेगा. तो इसलिए बस काम चलाओ, काम करोगे, है ना. तो हाउ टू टैकल दिस? थ्रू अप्राइजल, परफॉर्मेंस अप्राइजल. या अभी भी देर इज ए सिस्टम ऑफ परफॉर्मेंस अप्राइजल. हाउ एग्जैक्टली यू हैव फंक्शनड ऑल थ्रू आउट द ईयर. Okay, there is a annual performance appraisal report which will be done, which will be assessed by your seniors. But abhi ka jo process hai, it is not that much comprehensive, and it is also not given that much of weightage by our government while considering the allocations of postings or transfer. उसके लिए ज्यादा weightage नहीं देते हैं. तो इसलिए सेकेंड ARC has said that make this appraisal more consultative and transparent. Consultative का मतलब है consult all the stakeholders, मतलब all the people who are working with you, है ना, even your superiors, even your subordinates, or even some of the feedback from the public. Indirectly, not directly तो नहीं ले सकते. So based on this, try to make it more consultative and assess your performance. That is making the appraisal more consultative and transparent. ऐसे सीक्रेट नहीं होना चाहिए. It should not be in one particular hand. जितना सीक्रेसी लाओगे, जितना सेंट्रलाइजेशन लाओगे, उतना ज्यादा करप्शन होने का चांसेस है ना. मेक द परफॉर्मेंस अप्राइजल मोर ट्रांसपेरेंट एज वेल एज कंसल्टेटिव. And second thing is, this performance appraisal should be done as a mechanism of throughout the year. ऐसा नहीं कि ईयर एंड में जाके एक रिपोर्ट फिल करोगे, उसी को ही भेज दोगे, नहीं. Throughout the year कैसे परफॉर्मेंस हुआ है, that is how you should assess the performance of any particular officer. And try to develop certain numerical ratings while assessing the performance, rather than making something more subjective, so that there is some kind of at least quantification of the method of performance assessment, so that we can give more importance if there is some common method of assessing the performance using some numerical rating. Okay, these are the people who will give feedback. Okay, senior से junior से सब लोगों से उनका जो फीडबैक लेके हम असेस करेंगे. ऐसे कुछ सिस्टम बना दिया तो इट इज गोइंग टू बी मोर ट्रांसपेरेंट. अभी इश्यू है कि आप काम किया तो भी उसको अप्रिशिएट नहीं मिलेगा, राइट? So you are not, your work is not appreciated. The seniors or juniors, whoever is there or whoever is sitting in the government, they might not see your performance. क्योंकि वहां तक पहुंचता ही नहीं आपका रिपोर्ट, कैसे काम कर रहे हो. So you would not have much incentive to work in a better manner. तो इसलिए second ARC is suggesting a proper, clean, transparent method of performance assessment, which is consultative and which goes through all around the year. Okay, इसलिए it is asking the government to develop a comprehensive performance management system. Comprehensive performance management system. ठीक है? Along with this, there is also recommendations about making the promotions merit based. है ना, promotion को seniority based हटा के merit based करो, ये भी recommendation है. At the same time, giving incentive for the performance. है ना, आप जैसे अच्छे से परफॉर्मेंस कर रहे हो तो यू आर डूइंग ए बेटर वर्क, सो यू कैन बी गिवन लिटिल बिट हायर इंसेंटिव इन टर्म्स ऑफ द सैलरी, है ना, वो भी कर सकते हो. ये सारा रिकमेंडेशन है. सो प्लीज राइट अबाउट दैट. making appraisal more consultative and transparent, making appraisal more consultative and transparent. Next point, performance appraisal should be year round. Performance appraisal should be year round, matlab all throughout the year. Next, a comprehensive performance management system. A comprehensive performance management system with numerical ratings, then merit based promotion, merit based promotion, differential reward for differential performance, differential reward for differential performance, so that is regarding performance. We have some more things to cover, thoda sa time lagega, let's continue in the next class. Okay, so among the reforms we need to talk about disciplinary action, usko kaise abhi jo current method se kaise reform chahiye, what is second ARC's recommendation, and even e-governance ke context mein, and depoliticization of civil services, and finally lateral entry. ये सारा चीजें हम discuss करेंगे, and I'll also talk briefly about the mission Karma Yogi, the new program launched by the new policy launched by the government. And after that we'll start with the next unit, that is development process, development industry. ये जो third and fourth unit है ना, actually वो दोनों merge होके होगा. Okay, that would not be dealt separately because both are interrelated. जो हमारा third unit है development process and development industry, and fourth unit is government policies and interventions for development, because both are related to development. We'll talk about that together. That will start with the next class. Okay, regarding entry age, यार entry age का तो immediately तो नहीं होने वाला है, बहुत time लगेगा for that. Fine. And regarding हाँ, एक और recently Baswan committee का report आया था, if any of you remember Baswan committee report. So one important recommendation of Baswan committee is that limit the number of officers who are being recruited. बोला है कि अभी बहुत ज्यादा रिक्रूट कर रहे हो तो उससे क्वालिटी मेंटेन नहीं कर पाएंगे, तो इसलिए बासवन कमिटी हैड रिकमेंडेड दैट लिमिट द नंबर ऑफ ऑफिसर्स. मे बी आवर गवर्नमेंट हैज टेकन दैट रिकमेंडेशन सीरियसली, सो दैट इज जस्ट माय ओपिनियन, नॉट ऑफिशियल, है ना, बिकॉज वी हैव सीन दैट द नंबर ऑफ सेलेक्टेड ओवरऑल वैकेंसीज हैव डिक्रीजिंग ओवर द लास्ट फ्यू इयर्स. So maybe one of the influencing factor is the recommendation of Baswan committee. Let's see. Okay, we'll discuss a few more things in the next class and start with the next unit. Thank you very much.